morning and welcome one and all to our first ever inaugural kickoff Toronto Internet Governance Forum. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate to see all of you here. It's a very pleasant and rewarding day for us, and I hope it's one for you all as well. I just want to dispense with the formalities and all these protocol, but I just want to recognize our all of our distinguished guests. I noticed we have the Secretary General from the CTU in the room, Bernadette, thanks so much for coming. We have our overseas colleagues from ICANN, from the Internet Society. We have a lot of people from civil society, academia, government, even the police service are here. So welcome one and all, thanks for coming. And I'm going to be very brief in my opening because what has happened is that we've gotten several messages of congratulations from the global IGF fraternity. What I'll do is I'll start with the message from the UN. That's right. Yes, Chengatai Masango. And unfortunately, we were supposed to do a video message, but as some of you know, there's a UN meeting in Geneva this week, and he was unable to do the video. So he's sent the written message, which I'll have to read into the record. So here I go. Opening remarks by Mr. Chengatai Masango, UN IGF Secretariat. Dear colleagues present, on-site and online, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Secretariat of the Internet Governance Forum, I would like to thank you for this invitation and congratulate you for organizing the first National IGF of Trinidad and Tobago. I regret that I cannot be with you in person, but by using the benefits of technology, I would like you to know that the IGF is aware of your excellent and hard work that you are doing for the respectful community of your country, as well as for the global IGF. Many of you probably know that the IGF is a multi-stakeholder forum for policy dialogue on issues pertaining to the internet that was established in 2006 by the World Summit on Information Society and convened by the United Nations Secretary General with entrusting the Department of Economic and Social Affairs to support and oversee the IGF overall work. Through the bottom-up process and in an open, inclusive and multi-stakeholder environment, the IGF streams to proposing the best recommendations for all of us on how to fully benefit from the internet. Bearing in mind the diversity of internet governance-related issues that exists across countries and regions, it is very important that the more than 75 national, regional, and sub-regional IGFs play an ever larger part, I think it's probably even perhaps, but ever larger part helping to maximize progress locally and globally. Our cooperation and learning from the remarkable work of all IGF initiatives is crucial for developing a substantive agenda and fully inclusive program for the global IGF. In this sense, continuing good collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago IGF is very important. Our team is very thankful to all members of the multi-stakeholder organizing team, especially to Tracy, that is a valuable liaison between your respectful community and the joint work of the NRIs within the overall intersessional work of the IGF. As you might know, very recently, the 11th annual meeting of the Global IGF was hosted by the government of Mexico in Guadalajara. It brought more than 2,000 different stakeholders from around the world to discuss issues related to internet governance at over 160 different sessions. All national, regional, and youth IGFs have enriched the program by organizing their main session for the first time, among other activities, and with that, bringing new aspects to the discussion. Taking into account the final records from the last year's IGF, we have done a lot. However, a lot of work is ahead of us, especially with now aiming at achieving the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals that significantly depends on a strong ICT capacity for economic and social development, and related to this on good internet policies. Looking at good quality of the community that works hard on improving the IGF, and especially the fact that the UN member states agreed to give 10 more years to the IGF to continue the good work, I am more than confident that we will manage to come up with even more comprehensive discussions on working modalities for producing tangible results. As we are determined to make a global change, it is essential for all of us to start from our own homes, to understand what are the biggest issues, and to develop a joint dialogue around. Increasing participation of those that understand, especially from developing countries, is critically important if we want to maximize the impacts of our work, and you, our dear colleagues, are the key partner in this. We hope that you will all take active participation at this year's IGF Community Intersessional Work and contribute to the global IGF's processes. I wish you a very productive and successful meeting. It's from Chengatai Masango, the head of the UN IGF Secretariat. I'm now going to read out another message from, this is going to be Lynn, no, then read out. So Lynn, that's right. This one I had time to actually put together in a presentation, so it's a little easier to see, I think. So it's from Lynn St. Amour. She's the chair of the United Nations Internet Governance Forum, Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group. Dear colleagues and friends, first let me congratulate you on holding the first ever Trans-Tobago IGF, and also congratulate you on being the first national IGF to be held in 2017. National and regional IGF initiatives, NRIs, are central to advancing local internet and policy issues, as well as the goals of the IGF itself. IGFs such as the Trans-Tobago IGF are essential to increasing the participation of individuals from all countries, and this is a goal the IGF community takes very seriously. Congratulations as well on the multi-stakeholder composition of your IGF advisory group. This broad participation is important and your efforts appreciated and recognized by both the UN and the IGF MAG. The panel you're organizing on the role of the internet and the digital economy in the sustainable development of Trans-Tobago bridges nicely with both the IGF and the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, both essential to social and economic progress. The NRI contributions are extremely informative and useful to the IGF's intersessional activities, and the MAG looks forward to your contributions and increased participation in the IGF and IGF community intersessional activities. In closing, I'd like to thank Tracy Hackshaw for this opportunity. I have known Tracy since 2009, when he was an ISOC IGF ambassador, and now he's the convener of the inaugural Trans-Tobago IGF. Along the way, I had the opportunity to work with Tracy on the IANA Transition Coordination Group and other matters. I look forward to seeing everyone at a future IGF meeting, and if there are any questions or additional information I or the IGF Secretariat can provide, please do not hesitate to reach out. With best wishes for a successful IGF, Lynn St. Amour, Chair, IGF MAG. So those are two. So I've read out the two messages so far. So before I go to the video, which is another video that's a message we have from the IGF community, just to give you a quick introduction to what we are trying to achieve in Trans-Tobago. So, as many of you know, there's a global IGF, and some of you know that there's a Latin American and Caribbean IGF, and some of you also know that there's a Caribbean IGF. So this is the first national IGF in the English-speaking Caribbean region. So when we talked about NRIs, national and regional IGFs, we are referring to regional IGFs like the Caribbean IGF and sub-regional IGFs. For example, the Caribbean IGF is sometimes referred to as sub-regional IGF of the Latin American Caribbean IGF, and so on. The point of the whole issue is that the global IGF, which happens once a year, is intended to take the work that is being done at the local and sub-regional and regional levels and feed into that process, so that the IGF itself that's held in Q4 of every year is not done in isolation. It's supposed to be feeding off the work of these IGFs. So the point of getting the IGFs going in regions and nations is extremely important. And this is, like I said, the first one in English-speaking Caribbean. There's one going to be in Barbados, I believe, not too long from now, and I don't know, perhaps others. We have colleagues in the room who might be able to share more with us. One of the things we want to do as well in our IGF in Trinidad and Tobago is ensure that we work closely with the regional and sub-regional IGFs that are near and dear to us, the Caribbean IGF in particular, and the Latin American Caribbean IGF. And the work that we're doing here should not stop in this room, but should continue beyond the room. So although we only have a morning and a bit session today, I'm really hopeful that we all work together to continue the discussion that's going beyond this room. There'll be online platforms and other types of interactive opportunities that we will inform you about that you can work with us on. And we want everybody to participate. This is a multi-stakeholder process. We are just kicking it off. We're just trying to get it started. We really want all of you all to come and get involved. So with that in mind, I'm going to now, so everything I want to say is being said already by these people, including apparently thanking me. So I don't know if this is Markus Kummer. He is the chair of the IGF Support Association, which actually provides resource support as well as some financial support for national regional IGFs around the world. So
it gives me great pleasure to address the first meeting of the Trinidad and Tobago IGF. On behalf of the IGF Support Association, known by its acronym IGFSA, I am Markus Kummer. I'm chairman of the IGFSA Executive Committee. The IGFSA was set up to do that, to support national and regional IGF initiatives, to support the global IGF, and also to enhance the linkages between all of them. This, I think, is important. The IGF needs strengthening, it's fragile, and it needs more funding, and by actually joining the IGF Support Association, you show your support for the IGF at all levels. I would therefore encourage you to join the IGF Support Association. Now, why are national IGFs important? We have seen that while the global discussions are important, but the impact you can have at the national level is much greater. By talking to your policymakers, you can help shape national policies, you can help contribute to strengthening the IGF in your country. There are plenty of examples of countries where a good policy was in place, the internet continued and developed and prospered. So by having your meeting in today, you can actually contribute to the development of policies in Trinidad and Tobago that will help a healthy internet to flourish and develop. With that, I send you greetings from a very cold Geneva to a warm Trinidad and Tobago on behalf of the IGF Support Association. Thank you for your attention and have a good meeting. Bye.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm going to also quickly ask, because I want to ensure we keep the time. We have an intervention from Ms. Marilyn Cade, who has been very important to the national and regional IGF's establishment. She's been a catalyst for them. She has been involved in the US IGF, but also in the Geneva process in terms of a working group that's been established to get the IGFs really going and supported by strengthening with each other and sharing information amongst each other. So the Caribbean IGF, the now Trinidad IGF will be sharing information with the African region, the IGFs there, the Latin American region, the IGFs there, the Asian IGFs and the IGFs within there. So it's very important to have this sharing. And this working group that she's been putting together in Geneva has been meeting very regularly to do this. And many of them are watching us remotely today. So it's not only us in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have guests from all over the world remotely watching us today. So I'd like to now ask Marilyn, remotely, recorded, to share some thoughts as to how she sees this process working. So, Ms. Marilyn Cade.
Distinguished guests, participants, and organizers of the first Trinidad and Tobago IGF initiative. My name is Marilyn Cade. I served as the chief catalyst to launch and support the IGF USA, a sister national IGF initiative. And then more recently, invited by the IGF MAG chair, I was the substantive coordinator to the NRIs, supporting the great work of the focal point at the Secretariat, Ms. Anya Jenko, in the IGF Secretariat. Trinidad and Tobago has engaged in Internet governance forum as early as 2003 through 2005, when the world was debating how to achieve the information society. Your leadership has not flagged since that time, and I'm very proud to compliment you on your organizing of the regional LAC IGF, your hosting of Girls in ICT Day in 2013, and the role that you have continued to play at the ICANN GAC, at the WSIS Forum, and in the IGF itself. Now, before I end my comments, I will probably ask you for even more work. 12 years ago, when we walked out of Tunis, we did not have a rule book or a set process for how to achieve the information society, but by working together, we built the IGF as called for in the Tunis agenda, and during the last 10 years, we have achieved the recognition of the importance of ICTs as a key enabler. As we meet now at the first of the NRI meetings for 2017, and I want to congratulate you on that, we face a new set of challenges about how we collaborate for the next 10 years. WSIS Plus 10 agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals remind us that our work is about achieving a better world and bringing the information society into reality for all citizens, regardless of where they live. We've achieved the WSIS Plus 10 agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals remind us our work is about achieving a better world and bringing the information society into reality for all citizens, regardless of where they live. We have achieved a recognition that it is not top-down decisions, but bottom-up, nationally consulted perspectives that will move this world forward. As the Internet and the World Wide Web have both local, national, and regional presences and global presence, all government decisions, like diamonds, have many facets and many reflections, far beyond the locality or the country where the actual policy decision is taken. It is sometimes easy to think that only certain voices or certain views matter, but that is not the case, regardless of where the discussions take place. That's why national initiatives like yours are so important to enhance stakeholder engagement with each other at the national and regional level, and to provide valued input and perspectives into the global IGF itself. You have some pioneers of this concept in your steering group, Tracy Hackshaw and also Jacqueline Morris, who along with others in your organizing committee have been long-standing contributors to Trinidad and Tobago's contributions in global fora. As a small island country, when you speak with informed voices, you make a real difference. Even as we debate public policy for the Internet in the global fora, it is only at the national level that we can actually make the changes that are needed. And the NRIs help us to bring forward the views of stakeholders, both to advise the government participants in certain of UN fora that are mostly reserved for governmental discussions, but they also offer an opportunity to share ideas from the global IGF back into the national level for further examination. In early 2015, we had roughly 40 NRIs. Today we have over 75, including 17 that are in formation. We still have a long way to go to get more new national IGFs and to add to the sustainability for the existing NRIs. Thus, it is with great enthusiasm that I welcome the first formal Trinidad and Tobago National IGF. Sometimes organizers ask me about the challenges of launching and sustaining a national initiative. It took the IGF USA 3 years of informal meetings before we could launch. So creating the key building blocks can be very challenging, but I promise you that it is worthwhile. And both for your national engagement and because you will increase even more your stakeholders' interest and their input into other fora. Of course, there are some basic building blocks for the NRIs. All stakeholders meeting and acting together on an equal footing to discuss, debate, and consider the options for policy changes in Internet governance. It requires new modes of engagement, and it often requires participants to work to educate inside their own organizations or their own stakeholder group to convince them about the benefits of that approach. And it takes so much patience. But open and inclusive participation is one of the founding principles of the IGF itself, and it is the founding principle that we must adhere to in the NRIs. The process of planning, engagement, and participation must be bottom-up, transparent, open, and inclusive. And that means we're going to have to continue to do more outreach to those not yet convinced or even aware of Internet governance. The initiatives follow the model of being non-commercial in nature. That does not mean you cannot accept sponsorship to cover cost, but that the IGF model does not link sponsorship to decision-making. Fortunately, you have an excellent history and familiarity with these criteria. So it takes more time and more work to be broadly inclusive and consultative. To me, the NRIs, and I say this because many others are saying it as well, the NRIs are recognized as the most obvious success story of the outcomes of the IGF itself. All of us need to learn new behaviors when we're engaging on an equal footing. Not just governments, but the rest of the stakeholders as well. Governments have a unique role to play as they are one of the stakeholder groups, and they must be part of the process alongside the business, technical community, civil society, NGOs, academia, and youth. No NRI has yet perfected the process of gaining the attention of different stakeholders and building beyond the initial supporters. This work remains work in progress for all of us, and I know that together we can work to enhance the engagement of stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago, but also in other NRIs as well. Your panel discussion is one that is very dear to me and critical to the future that you want for your own country and your sister countries. The incorporation of the linkage to the SDGs and Internet governance is work before us in our next 10 years of the IGF and the link to the digital economy. My congratulations to the work that you already do to bring stakeholder views to your government participants in the various fora. I want to reinforce how important that is, and that includes ensuring that your government officials that are present at the United Nations, at the various UN organizational events, at the Geneva Mission and elsewhere, know your perspectives as stakeholders. Some NRIs have found that their annual NRI is the best place to provide a sort of town hall to take input from stakeholders regarding activities under discussion at, for instance, the United Nations, at the Commission on Science and Technology for Development, at UNESCO, at the ITU Council working groups, as well as at the international fora such as ICANN and the IGF itself. Others have taken the opportunity to develop not just exchanges with stakeholders, but to convince their governments to begin to add stakeholder advisors into the government delegations to the various Internet governance global events. 2017 is filled with key opportunities for us to be even more influential by working together as stakeholders. The IGF MAG will meet in early March. The Commission on Science and Technology Working Group on Enhanced Cooperation meets this week. The ITU Working Group on the World Summit on the Information Society meets in early February. The CSTD annual meeting is in May the 8th through the 12th, and the WSIS Forum is June the 12th through the 16th. ICANN has 3 meetings scheduled in 2017. I hope to see many of you at those meetings, but certainly to hear your voice. Sometimes 90% of the job is showing up by being informed and engaging, as you have done all during the last 10 years of the IGF, and now with your national launch of an IGF, of an NRI, I count on your continued leadership and collaboration. Perhaps the ancient proverb says it best: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, travel with others. And therefore, I think that as we continue to collaborate, we will bring forward the strength and endurance and innovation that we need to achieve the information society for all. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today.
Gives me great pleasure.
All right, thank you very much. And I don't want to declare the IGF open, but it is now time to begin our discussion. Just maybe before we begin, we'll have to bring some of the chairs here. So while we do that, internet governance as a concept is not new to many of you in the room, but it might be new to some of you. We don't mean government and internet, we mean governance of the internet. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the government is involved directly in it. And I want to make that very clear because that has become a discussion that we try to avoid, that the government is governing the internet. So it's just for those who need to get clarity on what internet governance means. It's really about the structures, procedures, and policies relating to the internet, technical, social, otherwise economic, etc. And also the ability for the all stakeholders to play a role in how it's working and developing and growing. I believe I've padded enough time there. So perhaps I can invite Mr. Mark Lindsay, the moderator, to come to the panel, as well as our distinguished discussants and panelists. We have Dr. Kim Malaliu, Senior Lecturer, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of West Indies. We have Mr. Curly Prescott, Chairman of the Trans-Tobago Internet Exchange, TTIX. We have Mr. Kirk Sukram, Executive Officer, Technical Services and Development, Telecommunications Authority of Trans-Tobago, TAT, and Professor Patrick Hossain, who is playing the role today of Director in the Trans-Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group, TTMAG, but many of you know Patrick Hossain in many other forms, but he's playing that role here today. And we would like perhaps to toss to Mr. Lindsay to take up the mantle from here. Thank you.